I can't tell you that. There's definitely a few keys there.
They're going to get harder, Heather, because all those guys that are in the playoffs, they are tightening they're looking for every little bit.
Because then you'd have NASCAR on you from race manipulation.
Yeah.
Welcome on to the Backstretch of News 5's Heather Williams, and Fords are back in the chat. They showed up and showed out at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway this weekend. Ryan Blaney takes the checkered flag. Josh Berry, who was eliminated after what can only be described as a miserable opening round of the playoffs, he finishes second. Joey Logano runs up front. And I think it just shows you why I said last week, let's not crown Toyotas yet. The Fords are really good at these short-ish flat tracks. And, oh, yeah, by the way, where's the championship held? At a short-ish flat track. So I think that you're starting to see why everybody wants to change, obviously, because, I mean, Penske's just got something that nobody else has in these kind of tracks, and it shows up almost every time we go to one of these tracks. Be interested to see what happens this week at Kansas, and then in the elimination race at the Roval. We will talk about Kansas and talk about last week with our crew chief, Chris Carrier, for sure, because there's a lot to dissect from what went on last week. Oh, and by the way, a little teammate tussle thrown in there just for good fun, and grins, Ty Gibbs and Denny Hamlin getting into it. Certainly will all be discussed with Chris. Our guest this week, Hunter Nemechek. He's not in the playoffs, but I have to say that you'd be hard-pressed outside of Penske and Gibbs, even really Hendrick right now, to find an organization that is running as well in the back half of the season as Legacy Motor Club. Their cars are consistently now in the top 5 and the top 10. And I talked to Hunter about what changed, what clicked, why is it all working for them now, and what's his kind of feeling and kind of their goals over the final 6 races of the year. So fun conversation with Hunter. It was great to catch up with him. And, the Nemechek name does pretty well at the Kansas Speedway. So something else we'll chat about with him as well. Let's get going. Joining us now is our crew chief, Chris Carrier, who's also the crew chief for the number 75 Food Country truck in the Craftsman Truck Series. Chris, Ryan Blaney wins to open up round 2 of the playoffs. Now, given the fact that this is a short-ish, sort of flat-ish track, and that we have 2 tracks that are sort of similar to end the season, are we once again looking at a Penske kind of championship?
Well, I believe we talked about this last week.
We did.
A little bit. And we talked about the Fords. The Penske team hadn't, stepped out yet, and so we were wondering if it was going to happen or what was wrong or whatever. And you mentioned about the championship race being at Phoenix again, and how well they have performed there, meaning the Penske teams, the last few years. And here we are. We go to Loudon, New Hampshire, which is a 1-mile flat track. I think Phoenix is a 1-mile pretty flat track. And I can tell you the setup, chassis, suspension approaches are going to be, really close between those type tracks. Richmond is another one. I'm losing my thoughts on a couple, but there are more. Martinsville. And here Ryan Blaney comes up, wins the race. Joey Logano wins the pole. Joey Logano, I believe, finished second,
Josh Berry was
Josh
second.
Berry finished second, who is another Ford Penske relative.
Penske car.
They're the same cars. And then I think Logano finished 4th maybe, or
something like that.
Anyway, they showed up. And they showed up with all guns blazing. They kind of dominated the weekend overall. Ryan Blaney is now in the next round, and things are jumbled up from where we left off. So, okay, it's not going to be just a Toyota-thon. It might be a blue oval and whatever, but don't count any of them out. Don't count any of them out.
So how much trouble, obviously, Christopher Bell and Denny Hamlin are in an okay position. How much trouble, though, are the 2311 cars, because they are 23 and 27 points out after the first race?
Well, they're not in a good spot. I mean, you can't deny they're not in a good spot. Now, the Toyotas, their teams have run well basically all season. They've had good speed most of the time. They've run well at most of the races. But the races coming up, they're going to get harder, Heather, because all those guys that are in the playoffs, they are tightening they're looking for every little bit. They are putting their best foot forward. They're running their best plays. They're putting up their best pitchers. They're just, everything is all they got. And when you're behind, it's hard to play catch up, because you're playing catch up with the best of the best of the best at the time when everything's on the line. So are they out of it? Are they like, oh gosh, just quit? No, absolutely not, because they're some of the best of the best of the best too. That's
right.
Why they're in the playoffs. So it's going to be, it's just going to get harder. It's going to get more exciting. There's going to be a little bit more tempers flare here and there. It's going to be hard to keep their head, but they've got to keep their emotions under control, keep their judgment clear, and make good decisions, good choices. And the cream's going to rise to the top. The toughest are going to survive.
So, speaking of tough and Toyotas, Ty Gibbs and Denny Hamlin had a little, should we call it a spat on the track this weekend. And I mean, it's unusual for teammates to wreck each other and to get into each other. But on the deeper scale, how big of a deal is this, especially for Hamlin, who is running for a championship?
Well, you had Hamlin and you had Christopher Bell come up, and they were trying to get around Ty Gibbs. And, they're trying to lap him and up in the race, and these guys they're not running their best, but they're trying to get as good a position as they can, and all these positions and points all play a big role in who goes on to the next who goes on to the next stage of the playoffs, who is where, who's ranked where how many points do you have? Like we said before, it's all coming down to where everything counts, and everything you do, every position, every pass you make. And Denny and Bell are veteran drivers, and they're both well in a place to where they could win a championship. They can do it, either one of them. Now, they're very capable, and they're figuring that, hey, this is our teammate, that it's not going to hurt him to let us go by because he's already lapped down, he's, this, that, and other, and he races them pretty hard. And, I see both sides of this thing, but now I do see Denny's side.
I was going to say, who's right in this situation?
Well, I think Denny, I think you have to look at his case, and you got to forget, you can't forget Christopher Bell. He's in the same spot. He almost got took out in the thing, but I'm sure he's like, come on, man, go on, get out of the way, let us race, let us go on, let us try to get all the positions we can, because, this is going to make a big difference in our championship run. Ty's a young guy, full of spunk, a fast driver. He don't want to be a lap down. He wants to do the best that he can for him and his team, and there's nothing wrong with that.
So let me play devil's advocate
yes,
on it a
ma'am.
little bit.
That's fine.
You're Ty Gibbs. You almost won last week at Bristol.
That's right.
You're so close to your first win. You're a lap down, yes, but you're fighting to stay the first car a lap down so that when the stage ends, you can get the lucky dog.
Again, there's all those two sides.
I'm, again, playing devil's advocate, because I think he probably should have let his teammates go. He wasn't racing them for position. But knowing Ty Gibbs, I understand how this, I don't know Ty Gibbs, but having interacted with Ty Gibbs, I understand how this happened.
I do too. Now, look, this is not, I think that, a lot of people are going to play this up and blow this up, and oh my gosh, Joe Gibbs Racing is fixing to blow up. All the drivers are going to be fighting in the parking lot and all this stuff, and no, I'm telling you, They will approach this, I mean, they will approach this with careful hands, but I'm sure Joe Gibbs and his management people, whoever is all involved in this, they're going to say, look, we've got to talk through this. We've got to work through this. Everybody's got to learn something from this. I think Ty will learn something from this. At the end of the day, if you had a crystal ball and could wave a magic wand and look into that and say, okay, let's replay this and let Ty just get out of the way and fall right in behind him. In the next 10 laps, Ty would probably be further ahead, closer to the leader than he was, you know, even before the spin out happened. I mean, that's been a long, I mean, I can remember Harry Gant saying this years ago, talking to Kenny Schrader. He said, look, when we're racing half a lap behind the leader or whatever, and we're not running second or third or fifth or whatever, we're not racing one another, we're racing that leader. Because that's who you got to pay attention to. That's what makes all the difference in the world. Just like you just said, Ty was trying to be the first car one lap down. Well, he wants to stay as close to that leader as he can as that leader is lapping other cars. And he wants to stay ahead of the guys that are a lap behind, you know, behind him. So he needs to make the fastest lap times, and I still think the fastest lap times overall would have been let Denny and Christopher Bell go, follow them, and I think he'd have been better off. And I think he'll probably realize that. Was anybody really doing anything wrong or out of character? No, absolutely not. This is one of those times where, man, it's a tough situation. It's difficult. It's you know, it's hard decisions, and you're asking a guy, you know, to say move over, when, you know what, he's got the confidence. He said, oh, wait a minute, I think I'm the best driver out here, and I'm fighting for my team, and I'm not moving over for nobody. That's human.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that, and it's a part of, like, could the spotters have done something different? Probably not. Crew chiefs? Probably not. Could Joe Gibbs have got on the radio and said, Ty, move over, let him go? Yeah, probably. He could have done that. Would that have been the best thing?
Well, no, because then you'd have
not.
NASCAR on you from race manipulation.
Yeah, so I think it's just one of those things. It's like, you know, in 3 or 4 weeks, everybody will forget about it, I think, because they're not going to let it blow up. There's not going to be any repercussions. You're not going to see Ty wreck Denny Hamlin. It's just not going to happen. That organization is way too strong, and, you know, Ty's got way too big a future to, you know, to do stuff like that. So to me, it's just a thing, and I kind of wish Ty would have let him go, and nobody would have said nothing about it. He'd probably been further ahead. Things would have been different. We wouldn't have been talking about it.
Oh, but what's the fun in that?
It's nice to talk about it.
But
yeah.
So from a Toyota's perspective, if they needed a cure, if they needed something after a miserable weekend, seeing Kansas on that schedule has got to be just what the doctor ordered. So what can we expect when we head to the Land of Oz?
I think, you know, I was thinking about this and thinking about questions that we talked about actually weeks and months ago about the schedule and which tracks would be good, about changing the last race, the championship race, around from this track to that track. And of course mine was Bristol. But you know, I was thinking about this. You know, Heather, Kansas would be a great place.
Except for, have you been to Kansas in November?
Well, I mean, yeah, I know it's probably going to be cool. I mean, my daughter and her husband and family live there now. They live 45 minutes from Kansas Speedway, and I think early November, you know, I don't know. I don't know.
The thing of you having grown up there, you're right, it could be beautiful. It could be 70 degrees and perfect. Mm-hmm. There could also be 4 inches of snow on the ground.
Well, it could be. There could be, and that might not be a very good thing. But if, you know,
but from a track perspective.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
A lot of the drivers love the place simply because, again, it's I don't want to wear this phrase out, this whatever, but it is a driver's racetrack. I mean, it's a 1.5 mile racetrack, so you've got speed. You're going pretty doggone fast. Okay, it's got banking, the whole 9 yards. The fact is, though, that the racetrack is pretty worn out. The asphalt degrades during the race. The tires fall off really fast. And you know what they had at Bristol with the tires falling off so fast and all the passing and all the strategy, you've already got that at Kansas. Now they're not going to cord tires, I don't think. They don't have to build tires just for Kansas so that the tires will fall off and people can be passing. They're going to do it anyway, but at the best you can do. And the people that work the hardest and make the best decisions on getting that car balance right, you don't have to be the fastest car, you have to be the best balanced car over a long, what we call a long run or a long tire run, 30, 40, maybe 30, 45, 50 laps. I don't know what their window will be on changing tires under green, but it's not, I don't think they'll run out of gas to do that. I really don't. And I think it's going to be some great racing. Yes, you're right. The history tells us that the Toyotas are going to be pretty good there. They got a lot of good notes there. Their drivers should be very confident. It's just a time for them maybe to get some momentum back. And you know, those two 2311 cars we talked about that were kind of, down 23 and 27 points or
That's
something
correct.
like that. It might be a time for them to make a comeback. One of them might win the race. And
Well, there was a
they're in.
time.
They don't care how
There
many
was a
points
time
they
where the 2311 won like 4 straight races.
That's it. Well, so, this is the good part, that one of the better parts about the playoff system as it stands now. You go to different tracks and you're going to say, these guys, don't look so good right now, but they're going to a place where they're going to do pretty good. So, and it's going to keep on. We're going to go to Charlotte Roval in a couple weeks, and the guys that run well there are sitting there rubbing their hands and licking their chops, and the guys that don't do well are sitting, oh my God, we got to go there. Can we please change it? It's the way it is. You got to step up every week, and I think there'll be a lot of stepping this week, some up, some down. There'll be some hurt feelings. And there'll be some guys pretty happy. So we'll see what happens this weekend in Kansas.
John Hunter, you guys at Legacy, you guys are not affiliated. You're a Toyota team, but you're not really affiliated with Joe Gibbs Racing. Do you think that people don't really understand how difficult it is to build this from the ground up without that kind of affiliation?
Yeah, it definitely is super difficult. You're pretty much starting from ground zero, right? You have a lot of experience in our shop with the personnel, the executives, higher ups, Jimmy, Eric, the crew chiefs. There's definitely a lot of experience there. But when it comes down to it, we're starting from scratch, really. We don't have notes to go off of or notebooks to go off of from, let's say, having an alliance with Joe Gibbs Racing or whatever it may be. So a lot of it is experimental on our end and trying to figure out the direction that we need to go, setup wise, aero wise, balance wise, things of that sort. But yeah, it's building it pretty much from the ground up.
You to me are like one of the poster children of why taking a step back into the lower series can actually be a step forward. How important was that going back to the trucks and Xfinity for you in your development of your career?
It was very important for me. I think for myself, I was in a position where I was in the Cup Series, but I wasn't at a place where I felt like I could win races every single year and on a weekly basis and be competitive in the top 5 and have chances to win. So being able to have a step back and align myself with Toyota TRD, now Toyota Gazoo Racing, being able to be a part of that whole, manufacturer side of things, being able to have Kyle kind of help me through the truck series as well, driving for him at the time, and then ultimately being able to go run Xfinity races at Joe Gibbs Racing and have shots to win championships. We won a lot of races, and ultimately that led to myself being able to be where I'm at now at Legacy Motor Club in a Cup car, and getting closer and having more potential each week to be able to run up front and be contending for wins and hopefully be able to contend for championships here in the near future.
There's a lot of drivers right now. You're all about the same age. You're starting families, you're having kids. And it seems to me, I don't know, I don't have kids, but there seems to be like a maturity and a calm in the race car that hits you when you have kids. Is that true? Like, does that change you as a driver?
I don't know if it necessarily changes you as a driver. I think it's changed my perspective on some things in life, but at the same time, I don't know. After having each one of my kids, we won the weekend after or the week that they came to the racetrack for their first race. So I don't know if it's a little bit more incentive to go out there and win and I guess bring home a bigger paycheck to pay the bills or what that incentive is. But ultimately, I think having kids in any fashion definitely teaches you patience at times, and can change your perspective on a lot of different things. And I definitely feel like it's been very good for me in those terms.
All right, so going forward the rest of the year, you guys are running well, not in the playoffs, but what's the mindset? What's the goal for these final, I guess, what, 6 races of the year?
Go out and be consistent. We want to have strong runs the rest of the year for these next 6 weeks, and ultimately just put ourselves in position to capitalize on really good finishes, and maybe even squeak out a win. I'm really excited about Kansas this weekend. Mile and a half, our stuff has been really good. Kansas is probably statistically my best racetrack when it comes to all 3 series of racing there. So definitely excited for this weekend, but excited for the rest of the year as well. I think we have a lot to learn, and I think the biggest thing on our end is just finishing off the year strong to start 2026 on a high note, and be able to bring what we've learned in 2025 to the 2026 season, and hopefully start strong and really put on a great performance next year.
So is that a Nemechek thing? Because I think of Kansas, I think of your dad too.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why I'm so good there, but looking forward to it.
So what's the key? Well, like, how do you get around Kansas? What's the key to getting around that place?
I can't tell you that. There's definitely a few keys there, but one is having a great car underneath you, and 2 is being able to really adapt in any situation. The racetrack can change a lot. Multiple lines, multiple grooves. You can run on the bottom, run on the fence. Definitely a lot of fun.
For my final thought today, I want to go back and talk about teammate troubles, right? NASCAR is a funny sport to me because it's a team sport, but it's an individual sport, but it's a team sport. You have the driver, he's trying to win, but he also has his car, his team. You know, he needs his crew chief, his jackman, his tire changers, his fueler. He needs those engineers. He needs all of that part of his quote unquote team to be successful. But then he also needs the bigger team, like the bigger we, his teammates, his organization, the guys, the competition directors, the guys that work for the greater whole of everyone. So it's a team sport, an individual sport, but a team sport. And I think it's really hard because of that dynamic sometimes for drivers to see the bigger picture of, especially young drivers, to see the bigger picture of this is what's best for the team, even if it's not what's best for me. And I think it was early in the race for Ty Gibbs to be mixing up with his teammate like that. But I don't blame Ty Gibbs for being aggressive. He hasn't won a race. Like, he has his own agenda and he wants to win a race. It's been 117 races in the Cup Series. He's had instant success at every other level. I mean, he's in his mind desperate for a win. But he also has to understand the bigger picture, right? Denny Hamlin is desperate for a championship. He's 44 years old. He's done everything on the planet but not won a championship. First of all, those two shouldn't be racing each other like that early in the race. Like, it's just too early to be knocking teammates around. But I think both of them have to step back and think, especially at that point in the race, what's best for all of us? If we wreck each other or wreck one of us out, is that good for Joe Gibbs Racing? Not just is that good for me, does that make me feel good in the moment? Is that good for Joe Gibbs Racing? And obviously the answer to that question is no. And obviously both those drivers are way too competitive and, way too focused on their own success to ever admit that. But I mean, it's not good for Joe Gibbs Racing, and it's, probably even in the short term, not really good for them because, trying to take out a teammate, you could always take out yourself. So I hope that they work that out because both those drivers are incredibly talented and both of them are racing for a lot, right? They have a lot on the line in their individual careers. So hopefully they've got that worked out before they get to Kansas. Both those cars are exceptional at Kansas. So I think they both will go in there feeling like they have a chance to win that race. And I would hate to see animosity between teammates get in the way of that. Thanks for joining me on the Backstretch. We'll see you next week.